crisis just hit your company. You have 15 minutes to respond. Are you ready? I'm Larissa Mott, and I'll give you the 5 most important things you can do so you will be. Nobody wants a crisis to happen, but in today's fast-paced, real-time world of social media, where anyone with a cell phone can be a reporter, the public will have a video of your crisis as it's happening, and maybe even before you know about it. You've heard, chatted, tweeted, and seen video about the latest scandals, from data breaches in retail chains to appalling customer treatment from airlines, and even a call for a boycott of a company's product because a beloved fictional character on a popular TV show was killed by a similar product. As we've seen with these examples, the way you respond can make or break your brand, reputation, and ultimate success. And the first 15 minutes you have to respond is critical. Seems too short, right? Well, according to Rock Dove Solution in 2017, they revised the guidelines for the NTSB. An airline is expected to publicly acknowledge if their aircraft has been in an accident within, yep, you got it, 15 minutes. In their second edition ebook, The New Rules of Crisis Management, they go on to say that if your company isn't ready to respond within 15 minutes, you're not ready to operate in the new reality. That is, the social media age. So later, I'll sum up the 5 most important things you can do to survive in a crisis, and even end up on top. No one ever wants to believe that their company will end up in a crisis. But as Chris Dreyer from Rankings.io says, the worst thing a company can do is ignore the possibility that a firestorm can ignite on social media. I sat down via video with Beth Swanson, an APR-accredited independent practitioner with years of corporate and contract crisis management experience. Here's what she shared with me. And after her interview, stay tuned because I'll give you the list of 5 most important things to do in a crisis.
Hi, Larissa. Thanks for inviting me. And in my opinion, crisis is anything that can damage the reputation of your brand or your organization. My crisis management experience includes things like litigation against the company or litigation filed by the company against somebody else. It also includes guest experiences, tragedies, foodborne illness, and crime. Social media has changed the way we manage crisis, and it's done it both in positive ways and there are some negatives too. The positives are primarily the opportunity to get our message, the organization's message, out to its stakeholders quickly and without having to wait for media to either reach out to us or for us to reach out and try to touch base with the media. So we can actually do this directly to the public with social media through all those different channels. The negative aspect of that is that the social media channels can be very disparate. They're hard to monitor. There are lots of them. There's always a lot of conversation going on, especially if you're a big brand. And small situations or just discontent with certain things about your brand can be blown very quickly up into bigger issues and become viral. And so that can be really tough to work with. Scenario planning is probably the best tool you can have in your tool belt. I really think that it helps you to be prepared. It helps you to act and respond quickly. It helps you to drill your team so that they know what's going to be happening in the event of this type of crisis. Obviously, you can't know all of the details, but you can at least plan for who's going to be on the team, who's going to respond, and how you're going to respond in certain instances. And then once you get into the crisis, you can actually deal with those granular things and the immediate issues rather than having big picture things hold you back and decisions being delayed because you haven't planned in the first place. So from my perspective, I think that social media really forces us to act very quickly. It forces us to send out information as quickly as we can. And we want to make sure that all of that information is accurate and approved from the organization before we do that. So being prepared, doing that scenario planning is just, it's just necessary in this day. Today, when we look at social media, The people who should be involved and focused on helping to develop the plan, the crisis plan, should, or maybe a little bit different than they used to be. So definitely your senior leadership and legal, you always want to have them involved as well. You always want to have your communications team, both internal and external, involved in crisis, and your operations team, because a lot of times with natural disasters, with things that are happening, in the inside of the business, if you have multiple locations and that kind of thing, you want your operations team fully aware of what's going on. You want your guest services team involved. They're going to have to talk to your customers, and so that's key. You want to have those people involved. But the add-on is something I think that perhaps we didn't use in the past, and that's marketing. Our social media marketers are out there all the time. They're talking to the communities. They have created a voice for the brand in the communities that they're active in, and so therefore during a crisis, that's where a lot of the conversation will take place about your brand, about your reputation, and what you're going to be doing to rectify the situation. So the path to resolution very much can depend on how people respond to your communication and what you're planning to do, and you want to be able to have your social media marketers involved in that process. You see brand ambassadors or consumer and others who are really brand lovers come to the rescue when something happens, and also tend to speak against rumors and share truth as well. So they can be really powerful, even if you don't have if you're not directing their messages and how they talk about your brand can be really powerful during a time of crisis. I think there are 3 essential items that you have to remember about crisis management in the social media age. One is monitor that media. You have to monitor everything that's going on inside of the social communities that are interested in your brand or your organization. Secondly is create that plan. You want to have scenarios down pat. You want to have as much of it as you can approved ahead of time, and you want to know who's going to be making decisions and being spokespeople. So you want to have that plan created and you want to drill on it. The third thing, say what you're going to do. Be tangible about it, and then let consumers know and let everyone on social media, your communities, know as well what you're doing to fix the problem, and how you're resolving it and what that path to resolution is going to be, because that is what they care about. They want to know that you are concerned and focused on fixing the issue that created the crisis in the first place.
As we heard from Beth Swanson, companies need to be prepared to handle any situation that may come up and do it quickly. If they're properly prepared, they have a social-centric plan to get their message out before the message is created for them. As Melissa Agnes of Crisis Ready says in her vlog, the reason it takes companies multiple attempts before they give an appropriate response to a crisis is because organizations are not prepared ahead of time. So that's our first tip to be successful in a crisis. Be prepared. As Beth told us, have possible scenarios explored and ready to go. Melissa Agnes tells us that every company should be prepared for 2 things: workplace violence and a data security breach. But examine your company and find any possible crisis that could exist and make a plan for each that includes who in your company will respond and pre-approved responses ready to go. And know what social channels you'll use. Pew Research recently put out a graphic that outlines profiles of each social media platform that can help you find where your customers are if you don't already know, so check it out. As Michael Levine from Business Goes tells us, get ahead of the story. And that's our second tip: communicate what you know and what steps you're taking. If you properly prepared in step 1, you'll have your crisis team ready to go with approved communications. Just fill in the details and send them off. Solomon Timothy of 1IMS tells us to take responsibility to control the situation and get ahead of the message. Coltrane Kurt of Team Epiphany advises us that the first external communication after a crisis is a well thought out response that resonates with your consumers. That leads to my third tip: monitor your social channels. This is where your social marketing team is so important. Make sure they have their finger on the pulse of what's happening and keeps the communication going the way your company wants it to, with truth and transparency. My fourth piece of advice is do the right thing. Put yourself in your customer's shoes. Do what you would want done. Apologize. Gregory Coit of Help Scout says that according to a study by Stanford, companies that admitted to their missteps were rewarded with future higher stock prices. And as Nicole Rodriguez of NRPR Group says, Be human. Saying that you're deeply saddened by what went down and will work on making things better is important. But don't stop there. Follow my 5th and final tip to keep your company on top in a crisis. Follow up strong. Prove to your customers that they can keep their faith in you. Change policy, offer refunds, engage the community, offer counseling, make assistance available, and let them see you're doing what you said you would do. Post, share, and spend money to make it right again. Hopefully this will help with your crisis planning. Let me know in the comments below which was your favorite tip, or if you have one of your own. I'm Larissa Mott. Thanks for watching.